Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And welcome to the beautiful Amway Center. My name is Alan Johnson. I'm the Chief Venues Officer for the City of Orlando. It's my pleasure to introduce at this time the Honorable Mayor of the City of Orlando, Buddy Dyer.
Thank you, Alan. And if you can believe it, we opened the Amway Center 10 years ago, right around this time, I guess October the 1st. And I think all the great events that we've hosted here, NBA All-Star Game, NBA Finals, WWE, all the fantastic concerts. Most recently, it served as a supply center for Advent Health during the peak of the pandemic. So we've had some memorable moments, and this venue is now going to be used for something that's incredibly impactful for Orange County and our nation, where a voter in Orange County has the opportunity to vote and to vote safely. And I'm one of the founding mayors of Civic Cities When We All Vote. It's an initiative that mayors across the nation are helping to make sure we increase the voting percentage turnout. And I'm proud to announce today that the Amway Center will be an early voting site from Monday, October 19th through Sunday, November the 1st. In the room that we're in right now, the voting will take place. It'll also be also a Dropbox location. So that'll be 14 days from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And this voting location, I think, once again shows the power of collaboration and partnership that we have here in Central Florida. I want to thank our partners with the Orlando Magic, Alex Martins, Coach Clifford, the players, and the NBA for making voting a priority, and I know that they will be doing that for the next 2 months as well. We want to again make sure everybody is able to vote safely. We also want to thank our partners at the Orange County Supervisor of Elections Office, and you know that WWE is in the building as we speak, and they've been very cooperative in making sure that we can get this done. With that, I'd like to call on Mayor Bennings.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. I'm honored to be here today, and let me just say thank you to the Orlando Magic and really to the staff here at the Amway Arena for this effort today. I'm a lifelong resident of Orlando, and when I think back about really the significance of today, I'm reminded that in the 1950s, my family lived here in the Paramore area. And there was a street called Bryan Street that ran right through here. And my family used to live in a house that would have been right there. And so that means that a lot has changed since that period of time. This was a segregated community in Orlando. And so for the fact that we're here today to work in collaboration to make this announcement, it is nothing short of extraordinary for me to be here and to participate in this occasion in the historic Paramore community. The Amway Center is a local landmark, and while there have been thousands of concerts and sporting events, the announcement today represents perhaps one of the most noble missions of the building to date. Voters are always being told that it is their civic duty to vote. But what does that mean? Why vote? Voters have the opportunity to pick the type of leaders who are going to address issues that are most important to them. And we know as Floridians how narrow margins of victory have been for political races, from President of the United States right down to city council members here within our community. Every vote counts. Access to voting is important, and we know that everyone should get involved. So I'm encouraged that everyone will come out and support this voting season in November going forward. And by the way, voting begins on October the 19th. I know that we're going to hear from Mr. Cowles more about that. I thank the NBA for establishing a social justice coalition, and we're seeing some of the results of that coalition today. Coach, thank you for everything that you've been doing with the players as well. I have 3 adult sons and 5 grandchildren, 4 granddaughters, and 1 grandson. And all of them love the NBA. They watch the players. They watch how you behave and what you stand for. So you serve as an inspiration to many of our young people around the globe, but certainly to those in my own family as well. So at this time, I would like to introduce the Orange County Supervisor of Elections, Mr. Bill Cowles, for additional comments.
Thank you, Mayor Dennings. Orange County is really excited about this opportunity to partner with the City of Orlando Venues, and with the Orlando Magic organization to offer early voting right here at the Amway Center. This will be our 20th location for early voting for the general election. Early voting, as has been said, October the 19th through November the 1st, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 14 straight days, 12 hours each day. We'll have voting right here in this area. There'll be plenty of free parking because the Magic have offered the flat lot right across the street from us. And also, as the ballot box here says, we're going to have drive-through drop-off for your vote-by-mail ballots, and they'll be out there on Church Street on both sides to have voters drive by and drop it off. No need to get out of their cars and park to drop theirs off. I guess a little caveat to it is we can only service Orange County voters here during the early voting period or for dropping off their ballots. You know, this site, I believe, is going to be perfect for the downtown quarter. The students down the street at the UCF campus, if they come back, and the voters in the West Orange neighborhoods, they'll all find this an easy early voting site and very accessible. We make sure that everything we set up in here will be COVID-19 precautions. We want everybody to wear masks, and we'll have plenty of space to space everybody out here. And if the crowd gets too big, we'll just have a smackdown with the WWE for more space on that. So, you know, as has been said, Florida's record is to have close elections, and every vote will matter, and we hope that people will come and take advantage of this opportunity here to vote. And with that, let me call on our friend and supporter here, Alex Martin, the CEO of the Orlando Magic.
Thank you, Bill. The Orlando Magic is proud today to join the rest of the NBA and the National Basketball Players Association in our full commitment to these continuing efforts to make voting accessible and safe for all of our residents. I want to start by thanking and recognizing several people for their cooperation and their efforts in making this a reality. We want to start with thanking our great mayors, the Mayor of the City of Orlando, Mayor Buddy Dyer, Orange County Mayor Jerry Dennings. We also want to thank Bill Cowles, our Orange County Supervisor of Elections. And finally, we'd like to thank our own Magic Vice President of Community and Government Affairs, Linda Lamon Gonzalez. Really, all of these individuals played a key role in making this a possibility. Through their great teamwork and collaboration, we are thrilled to say that the Amway Center will be an early voting location here in Orange County. In addition, we want to recognize the DeVos family, our entire team of players and coaches, and specifically today I'd like to thank our President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Weltman, our head coach, Steve Clifford, and Magic Center Mo Bamba for pushing us forward in these efforts and really initiating these conversations. And they're all here with us today on the side of the room. These great t-shirts that we're wearing up here today, as well as our team members, was the idea of our basketball operations leadership. And in conjunction with Desmond Meade of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, and as I'm sure as you saw, our entire team entered the bubble at Disney as we restarted wearing these shirts, and throughout their time playing in the restart games as well as the playoffs. They were seen internationally, quite frankly, wearing these shirts that say, "Get off the bench, get into the game, vote." So we want to thank them, for their leadership in that regard. Mo Bamba has specifically been an ambassador on this issue from the beginning, dating all the way back to June, when he partnered with More Than a Vote to make sure that everyone in Orange County had a convenient way to vote and to participate in democracy. And for that, Mo, we thank you very much. Thanks for your leadership. We all know that voting is one of the most important things that we can do to enact change in our communities, and one of the most basic rights that we have as Americans. And with a world-class facility like the Amway Center being open, this will allow for thousands in the area to have a safe voting experience. At the Orlando Magic today, we are proud to join the other 14 NBA teams that to date have designated their arenas as either early or election day voting sites in their cities. So whether it's during early voting, again from October 19th to November 1st here at the Amway Center, we also intend on having a Get Out the Vote and Register event on National Voter Registration Day, September the 22nd. We look forward to doing that here at the Amway Center as well. Or if it's voting on Election Day at each one of your individual precincts on November the 3rd, we encourage everyone in Orange County to get off the bench, get into the game, and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone. At this time, we'll open it up for questions. If you can please wait for a microphone and state your name and affiliation.
Or if it's voting on Election Day at each one of your individual precincts on November the 3rd, we encourage everyone in Orange County
Alex,
to get off the bench.
from the moment you guys arrived in those T-shirts to the NBA Restart campus, your message was clear. How much is this a continued effort and just, the beginning of something that you guys continue to plan to work towards as an organization?
Well, as an organization, we are talking and will be implementing various voting initiatives over the course of the next several weeks. Our Social Justice Task Force, as a matter of fact, meets for this week immediately after this press conference, and they have been talking about various voting initiatives. So you're going to see a very proactive and very public message from the Orlando Magic through social media and other mediums, communicating to everyone in Orange County to register to vote here in the short term, and then to get out to vote during the early voting period or on Election Day.
Holly Bristow with Fox 35 News. This question is for Mo, if he's taking questions. I understand that this was something that was very important to the players and something that you guys were very passionate about in some of your negotiations. Can you talk about that and what this means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't exactly there in the bubble when it became a national story, with the protest of the games, but way before 2 months ago, I saw fit that we use the Amway as a place for, as a voting station. I saw a couple other teams were doing it, and I thought it would be a grand idea for us to do it here in Central Florida, and I came in contact with a bunch of the guys that's on the stage right now and a few others, and kind of just hit the ground running.
Alex Fleming, Florida Sun Review. From Disney to downtown, Orlando's been the mecca of NBA and sports as of right now. How big of an influence do you feel the Amway Center can be when it comes to the 2020 election?
I think it'll attract more turnout. I think there's a unique opportunity. It's not often that we'd actually have the Amway Center available during early voting because it would be during the NBA season. So we're fortunate to be able to do this, and I think there's going to be a uniqueness to be able to come vote here, and I think some people will want to come and be part of this movement and actually vote at the Amway Center.
Hi, Farah here for Telemundo. This question for Steve Clifford, coach from Orlando Magic. What type of details and conversations did the players have in the locker room when they stopped the league and they wanted to be a voice, what's going on, like, and how they had this conclusion to try to make Amway Center part of the voting.
Yeah, well, in the locker room, the only thing, Jeff was in there too, that we talked about was supporting what happened, so that, we continue to have unity with all of the teams within the bubble. That led to a mass meeting, I'm sure you know, of all the players, which then led to, which I think is obviously an incredibly important step, is really what happened is we became more organized. The players' union with the owners became more organized. That's a big part of the 30 cities trying to open all of their arenas. Also, though, is the players are now getting leadership. They're going to get consultants to help them in other areas, in police accountability, in education reform, so that if you were in the meeting, there were, I thought, great talking points from a number of players, but the thing that they all realized, I think, that day was, you have to have somebody a la Desmond Meade, who's an expert in those areas to help them and guide them, and that was, I think, one of the decisions that was made, which is so positive for all of us going forward.
Hey, Bob Hazen from West 2. Obviously a big venue here, but what are we talking about as far as capacity for people to come here and vote? How many machines, how many people could be in there at any one time? And then kind of in line with that, has there been any discussion or thought about using it also during the general election, the actual election day?
Yeah, a couple of points there. Obviously, we know that the capacity will allow us to ramp up to what we need, and this will be one of our largest sites in terms of equipment, voting booths, and on that. So we'll make it work based on the anticipation. So we've got plenty of equipment because we can redeploy it back for election day after early voting ends on Sunday night. So we're very blessed to have plenty of space, good parking, and the key thing here is early voting is really convenience voting. And I think that's what's going to drive this site, is the fact that it's going to be convenient to the various neighborhoods that I spoke about. So we'll have capacity, we'll fill it as much as we can and make the experience good for each voter when they come. As to the question about Election Day, Alex mentioned that, we're going to go back to our 247 precincts. Actually, the Amway Center sits in precinct 601, and the polling place for 601 has been the polling place for as long as I've been doing elections here, and I'm not going to take it away from Shiloh Baptist Church to have the voting there in their community and that site on Election Day.
All right, Melissa Thomas with Florida National News. This question is for both mayors. Just wanted to ask you, what was the procedural details in terms of getting together with the Amway Center, with the Orlando Magic to make this possible?
Well, the city owns and operates the building. The Magic are a tenant. So I think the Magic brought it to the supervisor of elections and then to our venue staff, and it was a pretty easy decision to make.
Melissa, the only thing I wanted to add, going back to one of the questions earlier, I think it's pretty cool to be able to have, open up this building and have the community come into it, especially with the demographics that we're talking about, from with the NBA. They are so influential in the lives of our young adults and our teens. And with some of our young adults, this is going to be the first voted in a presidential election. And so I think just by having the backdrop of the Amway Arena involved with that helps to perhaps get some people to come through the doors and to vote for that very first time.
Lauren Cervantes, WKMG News 6. Bill, question for you. Will it be your staff manning this as an early voting site, or will it be also in partnership with the Orlando Magic and their staff as well?
Well, at this point, it'll be mainly our staff, but Mo has already offered. He wants to work, and he feels that there'll be other players that will want to. And so from that standpoint, we have a position called greeter, who works the outside, works with them. I think that's a perfect thing for them based on, it is a long commitment of 14 days, so depending on what the NBA schedule of activities and start dates for the future and all, so we'll work with that. But actually, we will be hiring the full-time staff working in here, but we will incorporate some of the Magic players in the process.
Sharon Stone with News 13. This question's for Mo Bamba, please. Can you speak specifically just why voting in particular is so important for NBA players, given the climate of the shooting of Jacob Blake and everything that we've seen? Why is it that voting is something that is so important?
I wanted it to be more of a, not a reactionary thing, but more of a proactive thing to vote. Obviously, the shootings of those guys are really, unfortunate, but this was something I've been pushing for, way before. And voting to me is the most American thing you can do for a democracy to work. I learned that at a very young age in elementary school with just voting for a class president. And this is something that my little cousins are visiting me right now. And those guys, they don't really understand the importance of voting. One just turned 18, one is 20, and the other is 19. And I just keep telling them, like, man, you got to vote, you got to vote, you got to vote. And, my message is going to continue to be the same, whether if it's trying to get them to see voting as, a cool thing or even an obligation. But it's important. It's the most American thing you can do.
Jeff Deal, WFTV. Alex, I was going to ask you something similar along the same lines of the question that Mo just answered. Was there anything that he said to you or any of the other players said to you as a main reason why this is so important that you said, hey, we need to make this happen, and you guys went ahead and made it happen here?
Well, I think all of our players throughout our entire league, have committed this to be one of the pillars of, their work towards social justice. And I think the comments that I've heard from most are that, you have the ability to impact change by who you vote for. And if change is needed in our communities, which we do need change, obviously, based on the social injustices going on, you can personally impact that by voting for someone who is going to impact that change and is going to change it in a way that you feel is the right direction. And that's what I've heard from the players consistently, and not just our players, but from most players throughout the NBA.
We do need change, obviously.
Jamie Say, WKMG. Mayor Dyer, without the pushing of the NBA, would this have happened?
For someone who
I think the idea originated with the NBA and the players. I suppose if the supervisor of elections had come and asked us, that probably would have happened as well, but it certainly was the impetus from the NBA and the purpose in doing that. So I'll change my mind and say, no, it probably wouldn't have happened without the NBA.
Something on your radar before this?
In terms of using this facility, I didn't until, of course, as we know, 2020 has been a totally different year. And so, and of course, for the Magic organization, the flux of starting, stopping, starting, when they're going to start a new season, this was not something, but as the window of opportunities open, that's a situation that we were more than welcome to be a partner in and have a discussion with each of the partners about how we can make it happen.
Okay, final question for Holly.
Mo, how do you feel that as an athlete, people are now asking you more than just about how many rebounds you got per game? They now want to know about social justice issues and what you think about political matters and what's going on in the world.
Well, I'm not a politician. I'm not really into politics, but I do see fit in learning as much as possible about what's current events and what's going on in the world, and doing what I can to be the change leader and to see how I can impact it, because quite frankly, I have a platform and I just want to use it the right way.
All right, I'm going to want to take one more from Farah.
Thank you, sorry. Just a quick question for, it could be DeVos or it could be Martins or with the mayor or the governor. Are you going to have the players being part of the campaign, promoting the earlier elections here in Amway? Are they going to be part of it, or the NBA won't allow that? Like, how's going to be the maybe campaign to promote this early voting here in Amway Center?
Well, as I said earlier, we are going to have an extensive campaign as an organization, and our intention is to use our players and their platform and their desire to be part of this voting initiative as part of that campaign as well.
Thank you, everyone.
As I said earlier, we are going to have an extensive campaign as an organization, and our intention is to use our players and their platform and their desire to be part of this voting initiative as a campaign as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Good. Hold a smile for me. One more. Beautiful.
One for me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Steve, you good?
Okay. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you. Yeah, I just got to get Shannon back in the office and start checking the signature, and then
drive by and drop it off. No need to get out of their cars and park to drop theirs off. I guess a little caveat to it is we can only service Orange County voters here during the early voting period or for dropping off their ballots. You know, this site, I believe, is going to be perfect for the downtown quarter. The students down the street at the UCF campus, if they come back, and the voters in the West Orange neighborhoods, they'll all find this an easy early voting site and very accessible. We make sure that everything we set up in here will be COVID-19 precautions. We'll want everybody to wear masks, and we'll have plenty of space to space everybody out here. And if the crowd gets too big, we'll just have a smackdown with the WWE for more space on that. So, you know, as has been said, Florida's record is to have close elections, and every vote will matter, and we hope that people will come and take advantage of this opportunity. Here to vote. And with that, let me call on our friend and supporter here, Alex Martin, the CEO of the Orlando Magic.
Thank you, Bill. The Orlando Magic is proud today to join the rest of the NBA and the National Basketball Players Association in our full commitment to these continuing efforts to make voting accessible.
in the United States and in the state of Florida. Today's going to look a little bit different in terms of the graphics, but starting globally with the World Health Organization, they are currently reporting over 25.6 million confirmed cases and over 852,000 confirmed deaths. Now, in terms of the United States, we are seeing over 6.09 million confirmed cases and over 185,000 confirmed deaths. Here in the state of Florida, we're seeing over 631,000 confirmed cases and over 11,300 confirmed deaths. Now, jumping into our world news story today, Russia's total number of COVID-19 cases has passed the 1 million mark. So a bit noteworthy there. Want to give you guys a bit more details where that's concerned. So over in Russia, they made the announcement as of Tuesday as schools and educational institutions reopen across the country with new mandatory safety precautions in place. Russia has the fourth highest case tally in the world after the US, Brazil, and India, according to Johns Hopkins University, which has been tracking the virus since it was discovered. Officials are saying more than 800,000 people have recovered there, so that's a bit of good news. And there are just over 17,000 deaths. And the death toll is lower than in many other European countries. Now, the Coronavirus Crisis Center said on Tuesday that the overall case tally stood at 1,048 cases after 4,729 new infections were reported there. President Putin, in a nationwide TV address, told school children and students to observe virus safety rules. It will be mandatory for teachers to wear masks in schools in Moscow, which has been, harder hit in the virus than other parts of Russia. And teachers are allowed to take off their masks in the classrooms when teaching, however, provided that they keep a safe distance from the kids. Now, Moscow school kids are not required to wear masks in schools, but the traditional ceremonies at the start of the school year were canceled on Tuesday, and the use of different classrooms will be limited to reduce infection risks. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated on that. Now, jumping here to the United States, the Trump administration's government is deciding to go ahead and distribute the rapid testing to different states, specifically so that schools and different facilities can get started using that. So here is a bit of an update for you guys where that's concerned. Now, the Trump administration will send most of its newly purchased 150 million rapid COVID-19 tests to states for schools and critical services. This was an announcement made on Tuesday, as New York City also pushed back on reopening classrooms in a deal with union leaders. So these are two things going on at the same time. Now, the moves came as the CDC on Tuesday issued a sweeping order. So this is number 3 that's going on, temporarily halting landlords across the nation from evicting millions of tenants in what it said was an effort to reduce the spread of COVID-19. So hopefully you're following along. Number 1, the Trump administration will distribute its 150 million rapid tests to states and schools and things like that. New York City has decided to delay reopening their classrooms. And then number 3, the CDC is halting landlords from evicting their tenants in order to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Now, the order covers all 43 million US residential renters as long as they meet income eligibility requirements, although an administration official said the government does not expect a, quote, overwhelming use of the program. Now, the daily number of infections has been in decline across most of the US in recent weeks, with over 36,000 reported on Monday, which is less than half of the mid-July peak. In announcing that the overwhelming majority of the rapid antigen tests purchased from Abbott Laboratories will be sent to state governors, the U.S. Health and Human Services Assistant Secretary Admiral Brett Girer said top priorities included daycare centers and first responders in terms of where those tests are going to go. The portable test can deliver results within 15 minutes and will sell for $5. They require no additional equipment and can use a less invasive nasal swab than traditional lab tests. Now, jumping back to that New York City narrative, Mayor Bill de Blasio said an agreement had been reached with reluctant teachers, union leaders to reopen school buildings to students on September 21st as part of his plan for a mix of in-class and remote learning. Mayor de Blasio said, quote, "What we've agreed to is to make sure that the health measures are in place to make sure that there is time for the appropriate preparation for our educators. He said that in a recent news briefing. Earlier this week, New Jersey and California eased some of their restrictions imposed in the face of the pandemic, allowing restaurants to begin limited indoor dining again. Because in many of these states, there was a bit of a second wave, like they reopened and cases started to spike again. So we continue to keep you guys updated on that. Now, jumping here to the state of Florida, you guys likely heard this yesterday, but in Florida, Florida has parted ways with Quest Diagnostics after failing to report 75,000 test results. Governor Ron DeSantis made his statement. And according to the Florida Department of Health, Quest violated Florida law when it failed to report the COVID-19 test results in a timely manner, including the nearly 75,000 cases dating as far back as April. On Tuesday, the Department of Health reported 7,569 new cases, bringing the state's overall total to over 631,000 since March. Now, the Department of Health officials said had it not been for the testing dump from Quest, the number would be 3,773 new cases compared to the 7,500. Now, prior to Tuesday, Florida had not reported more than 5,000 new cases since August 16th. So according to the Department of Health, Quest did not notify all individuals who tested positive prior to this data dump. Did notify, excuse me. They did notify the individuals who tested positive. For the most part, the tests were over the 2 weeks old, but some dated back 5 months, of course, again, as far back as April. Quote, Governor Ron DeSantis said, the law requires all COVID-19 results to be reported to the Department of Health in a timely manner. To drop this much unusable and stale data is irresponsible. I believe that Quest has abdicated their ability to perform a testing function in Florida that the people can be confident in. He said this in a statement. As such, I am directing all executive agencies to sever their COVID-19 testing relationships with Quest effective immediately. Now, according to the Department of Health, without the 5-month backlog of the Quest results included in Tuesday's numbers, the positivity rate for the new cases would have been 5.9%. But with those additional tests, it jumped to a full point to almost 6.8%. Now, despite the testing dump, Florida's positivity rate still remained below 10%. And of course, as you guys always hear me say on the newscast, 5% positivity rate is the rate that the World Health Organization is using as their benchmark for entities to safely reopen for the public and to keep COVID-19 exposure under control. Now, Quest Diagnostic, for their part, said in a statement that the delay in reporting was, quote, due to a technical issue. Now, the tests are 75,000 of the approximately 1.4 million COVID-19 tests that Quest has reported to date, according to a statement. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated on that very interesting story and let you guys know who the state of Florida is going to use for their next partner in this particular drive where that's concerned. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back with some more stories for you. Stay tuned.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
All right, guys, welcome back to the Evening News Rundown. So in the next U.S. story, the White House is set to reopen its tours, but with safety restrictions in place, of course, because COVID-19 is still here and we still don't have a vaccine quite yet. So here's a little bit more for that. President Trump's administration will restart tours of the White House on September 12th with new restrictions aimed at limiting the spread of COVID-19. This is according to an announcement that was released yesterday. Tours at the usually bustling White House complex where Trump lives and works were suspended after COVID-19 began, of course. Now, on Thursday, Trump had opened the White House to more of the public, hosting the last night of the RNC, of course, on the South Lawn. So the resumed public tours will only take place on Friday and Saturday mornings. with roughly a fifth of the usual number of guests allowed in. Guests must wear their face coverings and follow dots on the floor to remain socially distant when they check in. Federal employees, along with the self-guided tour route, will wear face coverings and gloves, and hand sanitizer will be available, according to the announcement. The White House has generally welcomed the public, but access has been reduced over the years to protect its residents. Now, a little bit of history for you guys. Famously, President Andrew Jackson, who has served as an inspiration for Trump, he hosted 20,000 people for his inauguration day party back in 1829. Now, since the attacks on September 11th, visitors have had to reserve tours months in advance through a member of Congress and undergo background checks. So public tours of the Library of Congress and the U.S. Capitol remain suspended, though, according to their websites. Now, jumping here to the state of Florida, Pinellas County has stated officially what its stance is on no-knock warrants, which is it will no longer do or no longer does no-knock warrants. And according to news reports, this is something that has been in place for a while. It's just that recently they made it official. They made their stance official in writing, 100% done. The Pinellas County Sheriff says deputies will officially no longer serve no-knock or dynamic entry search warrants unless in rare circumstances that require supervisor approval. So the sheriff there, Bob Gualtieri, announced Monday in a written and formal change to the agency's search warrant policy. The new policy states that preservation of life is a paramount consideration when serving a warrant. No-knock warrants are, as you guys know, often used in drug cases nationwide. Sheriff Gualtieri said, quote, "Simply put, in my view, no amount of drugs is worth anyone's life, whether it's a law enforcement officer or a suspect." The sheriff says that means no-knock or dynamic entry warrants will not be served unless authorized by a division commander. That is the same kind of warrant, of course, you guys remember, that was used by Louisville police this past March when they burst into Breonna Taylor's apartment and she was unfortunately killed. There are still many calls for justice for Breonna Taylor. Sheriff Gualtieri said, quote, "What it did for me, without a doubt, is to absolutely reinforce for me that what we're doing is the right thing, that what we're doing is the best practice." He pointed out that the official policy is not a reaction to the Breonna Taylor case because it was something the agency had informally put into place 8 years ago. Monday's move simply made it official. So congrats to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office for having done that 8 years ago, but now making it 100% official. All right, guys, we're going to take one more commercial break and we're going to come back with your business and sports story. And it is Wednesday, so we do have the lovely Angel Perry, who is the Executive Vice President for the Communications Workers of America, Local 3108 Union, waiting in the wings so we can have our lovely deep conversation. And she drops some truth bombs on us as usual. Stay tuned, guys.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin Clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin Clean.
The kid does have a point.
My hand is clean.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Evening News Rundown. In a business story, Amazon has won FAA approval for their Prime Air drone delivery fleet. So if you are someone who is an Amazon Prime junkie, if you love to order your stuff via Amazon Prime, these guys are going to be able to use their drones to make those deliveries. Very interesting. So they received the federal approval, which is a milestone that allows the company to expand unmanned package delivery. The approval will give Amazon broad privileges to, quote, safely and efficiently deliver packages to customers. The certification comes under Part 135 of FAA regulations, which gives Amazon the ability to carry property on small drones, quote, beyond the visual line of sight of the operator. Amazon said it will use the FAA certification to begin testing customer deliveries. It said it went through rigorous training and submitted detailed evidence that its drone delivery operations are safe, including demonstrating the technology for FAA inspectors. It says, quote, "This certification is an important step forward for Prime Air and indicates the FAA's confidence in Amazon's operating and safety procedures for autonomous drone delivery service that will one day deliver packages to our customers around the world. And this is according to David Carbon, who is the vice president of Prime Air. He said this in an official statement. He said, quote, "We will continue to develop and refine our technology to fully integrate delivery drones into the airspace and work closely with the FAA and other regulators around the world to realize our vision of 30-minute delivery." Now that is fast delivery. Amazon added that while the Prime Air fleet isn't ready to immediately deploy package deliveries at scale, it is actively flying and testing the technology. The company has zeroed in on drone delivery as part of a push to get packages quicker to Prime members. Amazon began testing delivery drones as far back as 2013, aiming to drop off packages at customers' doorsteps in 30 minutes or less. In August last year, the company submitted a petition for FAA approval of those plans. And in its petition, Amazon said that deliveries would occur in areas with low population density and packages would weigh 5 pounds or less. Now, the company debuted a new electric delivery drone at its 2019 Re-Mars conference that's capable of carrying packages under 9 pounds to customers within a half hour and can fly up to 15 miles. So congratulations to Amazon on that. And of course, Amazon isn't the only company seeking to expand commercial drone delivery. Last April, Alphabet-owned Wing became the first drone delivery company to receive FAA approval for commercial deliveries in the US UPS last October, which won approval from the FAA to also operate a fleet of drones as an airline. So very interesting as things begin to revolutionize, particularly in light of COVID-19 and the fact that people are still trying to remain as contactless as possible. Now, a quick sports update for you guys. For any one of you that has been tuning in live to Florida National News, especially on Facebook, we were there to witness the announcement of the Orlando Magic and Amway Center opening as an early voting location. So congrats to the Orlando Magic and Amway Center for that. They made the announcement today. The Amway Center will be available for early voting from October 19th to November 1st, the 14 days of early voting. And according to Orange County Supervisor of Elections, Bill Cowles, this is actually the 20th early voting location in the full list of early voting locations across Orange County. And the voting hours will be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for those who are interested in going to the Amway Center to go ahead and vote. And for anyone who missed the announcement today, yes, you might even glimpse some NBA players there at the early voting location. If you're someone who is highly engaged and want to go ahead and early vote at Amway Center. Mo Bamba, who has been an ambassador for that push for early voting since June, he already has volunteered himself to join in the staff of Orange County Supervisor of Elections, polling folks to be able to help folks go ahead and register to vote, go ahead and submit their ballots, or simply be a welcomer. Supervisor Cowles mentioned that a lot of the NBA players will likely serve as greeters for the purposes of getting folks in to go ahead and vote. Orlando Magic CEO Alex Martins mentioned that they will have a specific Get Out the Vote event on September 22nd, which is National Voter Registration Day. So stay tuned here at Florida National News, guys, as we continue to keep you updated. But as always, it is a Wednesday. So the lovely Angel Perry, who is the Executive Vice President of the Communications Workers of America, Local 3108 Union, that is always a mouthful, but she is here to join us for hashtag Worker Wednesday. How you doing, Angel?
Hi, I'm doing good. Melissa, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks as always for joining us. So,
I
obviously
appreciate it.
on a bit of a somber note, we covered yesterday the announcement of 800 plus, at the time, 800 plus workers that were either furloughed or laid off from,
Right.
Universal Orlando Resort, particularly folks on the hotel side of things. So chefs, folks working in housekeeping, that sort
Right.
of thing. And, we pointed out the fact that a lot of those guys were non-union workers. So kind of talk to us about the protections, like the difference between the protections that union workers have versus non-union, especially in a situation like this where a large corporation has to make such large cuts.
So that the general public has some understanding the differences between a organized workforce and a non-organized workforce, i.e. unions, is your contract is a legal binding agreement between the workers and the company. So when we go into negotiations, the finances and the plans of actions and contingency plans are all revealed and bargained for. So what'll happen is, in a right to work state, just like Florida, your only protection is to be in a union, because that contract is going to have provisions, worst case scenario. All companies and corporations have contingency plans. So if you're not part of the conversation, you are just, expendable, essentially. You're choosing to be expendable by not being in a union.
Wow. So, give us your thoughts on, like, especially with the backdrop of what you just said, like, give us your thoughts on, right, on, Universal's decision and kind of the consequences that are going to, come down from these cuts.
So what happens is when the companies have the contingency plans, the plan of actions that they execute will include provisions similar to how Disney had theirs, where those that are furloughed, they may have provisions where they keep their health insurance. The company still pays for that while the workers are at home, or they have pre-submissions for unemployment on behalf of the employees. There's all kinds of things that a union can bargain for depending on the size of the workforce, and there's monetary value per person. And that's what sometimes people miss the boat on. They'll say, oh, my union dues is $10, $20. I can buy a video game. I can buy a pizza. Why am I wasting my money? It's not a waste of money when the corporation has to look where they're going to trim the fat. So either you are part of the core safe where they keep you, or there is alternate or variations to furlough and you're not just terminated, or you're just out in the wind, and that's what's happening to 800 people is they are not unionized, so the company doesn't have to consider them. It's, you made those people, talking to them directly, you made money for this company. Their contingency plan was to let you go. And you didn't have a contract to say otherwise. That's the facts. There's no sugarcoating it.
Wow. And I mean, in a situation like that, wow. What can folks do to improve their situation? Particularly now, like, obviously it's too late. They got laid off.
Right.
But for future reference, like, what is the most important thing that they can do now? Like, what is a important next step for them to do now?
So going forward, just so people understand, any work site, any legal employment, you have the right to organize. So if you feel there are opportunities to do better than what you have in front of you, reach out to your local AFL-CIO office. So if you are, hotel workers, we have Unite Here, which represents workers that are in the industry, hotels, parks. If you're in communications like newspapers, cameramen, my office actually handles anything that has to do with communication. Linemen, if you install cables, any of those things we handle. So for every trade, no matter what it is, if you're a mechanic, a nurse, anything that you draw money because you were out 40 hours a week or more, it has a right to organize. That is the law of the land. And Google is free.
Yes, that is the ongoing chorus. Hashtag Worker Wednesday, Google is free.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you as always for your insight on these topics. It's always a pleasure having you on.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, guys, so we're going to take another quick commercial break, and I will be back to wrap things up with your entertainment story. Stay tuned, guys.
You need time to stand still or get up and go. You need to unplug or to reconnect with those who matter most. You need to kick back, to dive in, to have your moment in the sun. You need a palace to lift your spirits, to taste the finer things. You need room to feed your soul, to remember why you travel. You need Lowe's. The legendary Lowe's Don Cesar Hotel, St. Pete Beach. The room you need.
All right, guys, welcome back as we wrap up with the entertainment story. So The Way I See It documentary is getting a hybrid release in theaters and on MSNBC. So The Way I See It is a documentary about White House photographer Pete Souza, and it will bypass traditional theatrical release and debut in select cinemas on September 18th before airing 3 weeks earlier on MSNBC. Now, this was a joint venture between Focus Features and MSNBC. They're co-presenting the film, and they announced that as of Tuesday. So the doc is the latest title to kind of alter course amid the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. It's a behind-the-scenes look at the presidencies of Barack Obama and Ronald Reagan as seen through photographer Pete Souza's eyes. Now on MSNBC, it will air on October 9th following Rachel Maddow's evening show, and it will re-air several times ahead of the November election. Now, the documentary is an official 2020 selection of this year's Toronto and Telluride film festivals. So congrats to the director and producer, Dawn Porter. Now the film is based on Souza's best-selling books, Obama: An Intimate Portrait and Shade: A Tale of Two Presidents. Porter most recently directed the documentary John Lewis, Good Trouble, which chronicles the life of the now late Congressman and civil rights hero, John Lewis. So that does it here for us at the Evening News Rundown. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Always appreciate you. And if you haven't yet, be sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You guys know how we go. You can find us at Florida National News on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And on YouTube, be sure to not only hit the subscribe button, but also hit the little bell icon so you get all the notifications for all of our shows. And as a quick reminder, if you are interested in advertising, be sure to advertise with us. You can email us at ads@floridanationalnews.com to find out more. But in the meantime, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow. Be sure to have a great rest of your day. Take care.